So, welcome back to Scott Asmar, the man, and everything in between. I have a special guest today with me, Denyse Rabbat. Is that how you pronounce it, Denise?
Yes, Rabbat.
And she's a career guidance. How Denise, tell me what your role is, because you've helped me, and I'm going to
Sure.
give them some background.
Hey everyone, my name is Denyse Rabbat. I'm a career development coach or career transition coach, as Scott mentioned. I specialize in working with people in mid-career, midlife. In my definition, that's about like 10 years plus of experience, professional experience. And so I help people, coach people through transitions, whether it's looking to find a new career, change jobs, or maybe you just want to up level your brand, or you want a promotion, or you want to make a complete 180, right? Things we prepare with that are interview prep, job offer negotiation, and eventually onboarding. So really runs the gamut.
Wow, that's pretty interesting, and which ties into today's topic. About careers and also with my past episodes of taxiing and runway and landing and then taking off again in different areas of your life, especially after midlife or during midlife. So I was thinking today, I was thinking in the past couple of weeks about the idioms that people say, and one of them that I remembered was "Oh, that ship has sailed." And it's funny, I
Mhm.
don't know why that came to mind, but I just wanted to explore that. Like, where do these sayings come from? And have you ever had that said to you, or have you used that
Oh,
phrase?
totally. I mean, I've used it, right? I mean, more times than I can remember. Yeah. And so I'm
Yes.
so curious. Tell me, where does the origin of it all?
So the origin stems from about the 1800s,
Hmm.
uh, maritime, the seas time. And what it was at that point, a lot of people, if they got to the dock late, then they missed their ship and they would have to
Mhm.
wait for weeks and days, and it would sail off. And so it was very important that their timing was correct to get to the dock. But what was interesting is this catchphrase of why or your ship has sailed caught on because it was it was talking about opportunities, or it morphed into talking about opportunities or missed things in your life. And how it originated was that these people would go to the dock and the ship would go, and
Mhm.
it caught on because you could actually like almost visualize the ship going into the horizon and disappearing. But what struck me was what I thought about, don't all ships return to port? So it's like, why would it be a finite that you've missed it when the ship eventually comes back? And so a little more research on it was by the 20th century, this had really caught on, especially in British culture, it had caught on, and it was talking about the actual moment that you've
Mhm.
missed, which I understand that, but yet there are other moments that come along. So in my mind, the actual you've missed your ship, but yet there's could be and will be another one coming your way. You may have missed that actual moment, but there will be another one coming your way. And so I have to tell you a little story about
Yes, I love it.
when I was doing my hours for therapy, and I was doing therapy work.
Mhm.
The psychiatrist I was working with, we're talking about careers and things, and I said, oh yeah, I really love to act, and I like acting, and I got into psychology, but I really like acting. And he told me, he said, oh well, that ship has sailed. And it was like almost
Yeah,
devastating to me.
yeah.
Why? I don't know. Cause I was like, this is like back in, I'm going to date myself here, 90,
Mhm.
4, 95. And it just always stuck with me. why my acting ship had
Yeah.
sailed, and I didn't like. And fast forward to, I mean, 20 years later, back in 2013, all of a sudden I started this acting career,
Yeah.
which led me to, uh, doing the podcast about taking off and landing. So I'm
Hmm.
wondering, are you seeing that in the career, in career wise? Do you see that?
Oh, absolutely, Scott. I mean, I think, there's so many great nuggets of like awareness and kind of inflection in what you just said and reflection in what you just said, right? Because I tend to focus on mid-career, midlife professionals, the most common thing that people come to me or is like, I don't like my work, but I want to do this, or my work pays me what I need to be paid, but I'd love to be doing this or that. And so it's so common in midlife to have this inflection point. And so you're not alone, right? And some people really go back to the start, right? Meaning like what they like to do often when they're in fifth grade. There's a famous author, TED Talk presenter called Simon Sinek. And a lot of my work and presentations that I make about midlife and mid-career are based on his book, Find Your Why, right? And finding your why is the whole concept is talking about what you like to do when you're in the fifth grade, right before the world creeped in, right before puberty hits, before all of these different like life stages come into play. What did you like to do? And so many that it's important to people to go back to that, even if they don't do what they liked to do, to think about that and maybe try to make some connections about how they connect back to that person, right? Their fifth grade self, and or just their nascent self. And so, and that even if they don't go and do it, it's healing for that individual generally, right? I mean,
Right.
you yourself has taken that to the next level, right? And
Yes.
so I think it's fascinating, right? And I think it's also commendable. This wasn't as common, right? 30
So
years ago.
we were talking a couple of days ago about the trend that you see.
Hmm.
It's no longer the 30, 40-year career that
Right.
you get.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to touch on, you're the psychiatrist that you were working underneath wasn't, wrong or out of date, even in, in the late 90s, right? Most people up until like Generation X, would have one career their whole life, right? My dad was one of them. He worked at one company for 34 years and retired, and it was a great career for him. But that is so uncommon now. I mean, there are still some people, that experience that, but the actuality that you're going to have the same career, going to start out as a teacher and you're going to end as a teacher, 30, 40 years later is just unheard of, right? The average Gen X person will have 3 to 4 careers, not jobs, careers. I'm one of them, right? You too, right? You've been a
Right.
psychiatrist. I mean, excuse me, a psychologist.
Just
You've been a stay-at-home parent. You've been, you're an actor. You're also a business owner, a small business owner. I mean, you've had already
right.
4, and you're not, podcast, host. And look, that's 4 or 5 already. And so,
Yes.
but someone like from generations previous to us fixated on one career because for many reasons, but yeah, we're definitely seeing a trend because modern professionals are want so much more out of their career too. Previous generations have really, have stuck with one career for many different reasons, right? Maybe lack of
Right.
training or just the stability or the financial needs, or just a lack of education or opportunity to do something else. But now the average person having those 3 to 4 careers, people want more out of their career. Gen X, definitely millennials. I'm sure Gen Z and Alpha. I mean, already we
Yes.
see them demanding really so much more out of the workplace and out of employers than ever before. So,
Right.
yeah, so
That's
I definitely see that with my clients.
that's really interesting about you talked about going back to the fifth grade before the world
Hmm.
has always motivated me because I remember in fifth grade, sixth grade that I would do these. I think I talked about it on one of my podcasts. I do these
Hmm.
productions with my two cousins,
Yes.
and I would do everything from the script writing to the variety shows and plan it all out. And it's just something that was always in me. And so when that comment of your ship has sailed, it really like I said before, it just took something out of me. But
Mm.
at the same time, the timing and I don't look at it as it was finished. And I think this is what I want to get across to my listeners is I don't look like it was the ship had sailed. It's just wasn't the right timing for it.
Mm-hmm.
And timing, I've learned over the years, is pretty much everything. And I could have not been ready. I look at it now as a preparation for getting me onto this other ship or this other
Right.
career, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of, demographics at play here too, Scott, right? That we see. I mean, at the turn of the century, for example, the average person, the average American lived to be like, I think it was 45 years old. I mean, don't quote me on that. I have to go somewhere in the mid 40s. Whereas today, the average life expectancy of an American is, somewhere around the mid 70s. So people are living 30 years longer, right? And
Mhm.
so it's not uncommon for them to, want more of their career, work longer as well. I mean, most Americans are having to work longer for various reasons. Some people don't have to work longer, but they just want to work too. They don't know, they like to have that mission and purpose when they wake up. And so, these all kinds of things, all these things all come to play, right? Very different than the 1800s in Great Britain, right? And
Yes,
and just if their ship sailed, they might be they might not be back when, someone might not be back when they get home, or like, maybe their empire
exactly.
will have changed when they got back.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And so that's a very good point you bring up about the age. I hadn't really thought about that before, but yeah, that they didn't have the time that we have now, and so you're right. The ship could come back and they could no longer be there. Um, that's a good point. And you know how I always like to tie it into biblical sense. And
Mm-hmm.
we can read, in the Bible, Ecclesiastics, I believe it's 3:1, to everything there's a time and a season. And Habakkuk, I believe it was 2:3. Though it will linger, it will come to pass. It certainly will come and it won't delay. And those things really stick to me because I don't like to look at it as the ship has sailed anymore. I like to look at it as that I'm waiting, just like I have referenced before about the taxiing and
Yeah.
takeoff. You've got to wait to get clearance, and patience is a big virtue.
Yeah.
And I think we don't have a lot of that today, the patience.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything's fast. We're in a fast society. We want fast internet, fast this, fast food, fast everything. And I think if we just step back and relax and take a breath, that we can actually understand what we want and make that change, according to our needs.
Yeah, exactly. Like breathe sometimes, like, just like take a deep breath. Like, and a lot of times people do get frustrated in their careers, right? And they're like, this career or this
Yes.
employer, or, this is horrible. And, kind of spin up. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying I'm not like, there's definitely times, in my career that I felt the same. But, on the flip side of the coin, right? You have been very patient, right? I'm a listener of your podcast, and yeah, you could have just been like, well, that ship sailed, but you turned your ship, a little bit to the right, and now you've dug in, right? And you've also like, what if putting your acting to the side, even if you weren't developing your talent, with courses and different things, but you also kind of parlayed in. You are parlayed into a broadcasting career or podcasting career, right? And using those performance skills, right? Those fifth grade skills in a different way,
And a different,
in a
you're
modern
absolutely right.
way, right? Even 30
You're
years, there was,
absolutely right.
maybe the beginning of podcasts, but wasn't, the platform that it is today. And so, now you're using that. And that's how I work with clients as well. It might not be, they're going to be acting, even though that's what they were
Right.
doing in the fifth grade. However, can we get them, performing or sharing or, on stage somehow?
So how can somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you
absolutely. I offer virtual coaching, so I can work with anyone across the United States. My website is drcareercoaching.com, drcareercoaching.com, and or on Instagram, I'm Denyse Rabbat, and we'll put that in the show notes. I spell my name a little bit different with a Y, but Denyse Rabbat and Instagram or LinkedIn, of course.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us about this idiom of the ship has sailed. And I think we can look at it differently. I hope we look I hope my listeners can see it differently, that not all the time the ship sails. It will come back in ways that you may not expect. And patience and timing are all key to it. So,
Absolutely. I love the inspiration. And thank you for having me. This has been really a treat.
well, thank you. Till next time, may your dreams sail on.